The Conference of the Parties, or COP, is the annual global summit on climate change. It brings together governments, industry leaders, activists, and representatives of indigenous communities from all 198 member countries. The objective is to assess progress in reducing harmful human impacts on the planet, strengthen international commitments, and set new global targets. The COP was established under the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, signed in 1992. Each year, the host country leads the discussions and defines the key priorities for action. This year, COP30 will take place from November 10 to November 21 in Belém, Brazil, at the heart of the Amazon rainforest. Over the years, some COP meetings have marked major turning points in international climate action. COP21 in Paris, in 2015, led to the historic Paris Agreement, which set the framework for limiting global warming well below 2 degrees Celsius. COP26 in Glasgow, in 2021, resulted in the Glasgow Climate Pact, which advanced the rules for global carbon markets and called for a gradual phase-down of coal. Last year's COP29, held in Azerbaijan, left several critical issues unresolved. Developing countries called for $1.3 trillion in annual funding for the Loss and Damage Fund, intended to finance energy transition efforts and build climate resilience. However, developed countries committed only about $300 billion of that total. Some progress was made on establishing standards for a centralized carbon market, and a global methane pledge was launched to collectively reduce methane emissions. Looking ahead, COP30, often referred to as the Forest COP, is expected to be pivotal. Taking place in the Amazon rainforest, it comes at a decisive moment, as several long-term agreements reach their conclusion. This year, all member countries are expected to reassess and update their nationally determined contributions under the Paris Agreement. Most of the member countries missed the deadline to submit their report in February. Key discussions will focus on bridging the remaining climate finance gap, particularly the $1.3 trillion requested for the Loss and Damage Fund. The Glasgow Pledge on Adaptation Finance, which is set to expire, will also need to be renewed or replaced with new objectives. Delegates are expected to negotiate the creation of a global ambition framework, aimed at closing the gap with the 1.5-degree pathway. Another significant development is the establishment of the Indigenous Peoples Circle, which reflects a growing commitment to integrate indigenous voices more directly into climate decision-making. Despite some skepticism following the United States' withdrawal from the Paris Agreement and the strong presence of oil and gas interests, the Brazilian presidency has positioned this as the COP of implementation. It is important to note that although the USA withdrew from the Paris Agreement, it is still part of the UNFCCC signatories. It will participate to negotiations under this regulation, with a reduced level of engagement. However, for the first time in history, the USA did not send an official delegation to this COP. With Brazil at the helm, themes such as forest conservation, biodiversity protection, and sustainable land use are expected to play a central role in guiding the discussions.